And now, your fearless leaders. I'm going to let Jim and Jerry talk about their specific courses and Paris in general, because they can do a better job.
Jim and Jerry.
Jim and Jerry.
My class visits are going to be, the visits are going to be timed with the class. So when we have class in the afternoon, you will visit. BNP Paribas is one of the largest firms in the world. It's one of the 50 largest firms in the world. It's a huge bank with 236,000 employees and an amazing staff of 20 people. KPMG audit. Frederic Ferron, one of our alums, is the librarian, so she's arranged that. Bain, I thought I'd give a good sample of what a Bain institutional library looks like where there's just one person. We're also going to visit an academic library, one of the best business school libraries in Paris, so then you'll have that contact as well. But the cases that you will have 5 outstanding company libraries, 5 company libraries that have closed are already up on Moodle, so there'll be no aggravation. The textbook is going to be available on a Kindle, on Barnes & Noble, 5 different sites. It should be all set there. So our class days will be class days. None of this scooting off for a picnic. You can do that on the days, we'll do that on the days that we don't meet in class. And you'll have the whole day to scoot off for a picnic. But I want to time the visit so that part of the class, so we definitely all go to BNP Paribas and all the other places as well. That's it.
But there's more.
But there's more.
Yes. The classes can do things together. So if people want to visit your library, they're welcome to go.
Oh yeah, you should, most certainly, yeah.
By the way, that also, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the same with the Yonsei trip too, is that any tours that are set up, they're not just for that class, they're for all the students who are participating.
A friend of mine is also visiting the NSIP at the same time. So Heather, I heard her last name, from Missouri, she's going to be there. That's the main French library school, and she can bring you around. They don't like unexpected visits, so it's important to have somebody in there. And IFLA will be there at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, just before that.
International Federation of Library Associations, not, so, okay.
It's a really good conference. You should try to go.
It's like the week after we're there, and it's in Paris, or not in Paris, it's in France.
Tangent, Bethany's class went to a library office in Rome, and people kept trying to offer the students jobs.
That's very
They
true.
begged.
We went to FAO, which is the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, and we visited the library there, and our librarian was actually a guest list in our online cohort, and she was basically like, please come take internships and jobs here, like we're desperate. So, you never know, you're making a job out of some of these assignments.
And Bethany, just for the details, do you need a visa to visit Korea? Do you need a visa to visit Paris?
Nope, if we were going for a longer time you would, but we're just there for 2 weeks, so
all
you need a passport.
Unless you change your return time, as many people did.
Yeah.
The materials are online. I like to have in historical text, that way there's something you can associate all the topics with that you've never seen before. That's Meg's history of graphic design. And I try to have a lot of videos, so you can watch them at home in a little time. In short clips, I think are very useful. And I like to make it more personable. So we have, last time we had a book called The Silicon. It was not the best writing, but it personalized the story of the development from a way that you'd not have seen. And I have a great one for this term by David McCullough. It's about Bostonians who went to Paris in the 1820s through the 60s. Like Sargent and all these, John Singer Sargent and all these famous folk. They actually have personalities. So it's kind of fun. So that's the reading. The assignment, before you leave, and then you're well to get your feet wet. And then there's a project or a paper that you do at the end. So you have time to get back, settle in, and write something. Think of that as like a showpiece. We whip out an employer. What do you got? You give a talk. Quick, here it is. You're good to go. Cultural events. Paris is design. There we are having a picnic, by the way, in Rome.
Yes.
And it dawned on me, they look like the Last Supper. Like,
Yes.
yeah.
It was my idea.
Okay, you already did.
I can see it.
I thought it was very, very
Central to
funny.
the photo there.
That's why I got to be Jesus.
So one, Paris is designed to be a visual environment. So then the Luxembourg just down the street, and at the French Senate, they put on an opera. So you just drop in and watch an opera. It's really a trip, right in the gardens. It used to belong to the Duchess, that's her name, and she owned all the area, and so since she wanted to have famous women of Paris, all the statuary are famous queens around it. It's a great site just to hang out for picnics. Second, you should get on the boat ride. There are 3 types of boat rides. One's full of tourists, you can't move. Then they have the lunch one, then they have the over-the-top dinner one. Any of those are great, because you have what's called a son et lumière, a sound and light show, where the lights blast and all the buildings as you go by them, and the narration sort of gets you in the spirit of it all. It's a nice way to situate yourself on the river. And then other events. There is the metro, of course, that gets around Paris easy enough. And the downtown part is close enough, you can walk anywhere fairly quickly. You'd be surprised. The metro will take you anywhere you want to go. Then the RER goes a little bit further out to the outside, places like that. But then the train, you can get to anywhere. You get to Lyon, or Geneva, or Strasbourg, or even London in less than 3 hours. So it's kind of fun. Oh, in a nutshell, when we go out, this is to wrap it up, when we go out and about to see things, you see things. The city was designed to have broad vistas. It was also designed to be defended easily militarily. No story. And they recycle their artifacts from an old train station, turned into the Musée d'Orsay, which is kind of nice. And I'll end by saying that they're not all boring, stuffy people. They're actually kind of funny, kind of weird. You go to McDonald's, but after Salem, I feel like McDonald's in Dorchester. It's a weird cultural crossover. Equally, every night, on Friday nights, the police will block off the main boulevard, and everybody wants to roller skate or bike, whatever. It's like a mile-long truck of people having a good old time, going down the street, and they're followed by an ambulance. Talk about culture. If you break your leg, the guy's right there to take care of you. There's a very different environment. Now it's a little baby, real Antoinette. And we can go, I should thank Terry for all of his effort, of course, but most of all, Bethany. She is the queen of finding out things to do.
Thanks. Thank you.
No, good things to do.
And you brought up a good point too, is in Paris, we are lucky enough that Jerry speaks not perfect, but very good French. Jerry speaks French, so that's very helpful. When we're in Korea, I'm not going to, Lisa and Greg don't speak Korean. However, we are constantly accompanied by the Korean students. So in both situations, you aren't expected to have proficiency in that language. Obviously, if you want to learn it, and definitely basic phrases is going to get you a long way, so I highly recommend it. But you're not expected to be like fluent in any way, but obviously does help to learn key phrases and keywords. And also thanks to Jerry. Jerry's actually the one who started both of these programs. He's the one that initially started the communication with St. John's, which has really allowed us to have this opportunity to go to both Rome and Paris. So thank you very much. So yeah, this is a nice example of our visual communication representation.
If I might, before you go on, we followed a map to get to
Appian Way.
The Appian Way. But everyone in Rome says, there's a lot of strikes, and you just have to learn to deal with it. And they have a phrase in Italian, we'll get along. Well, we followed this map all the way down here to Vignan, and we get to the edge of the park and there's a gate. And I said, screw this, having a picnic. So we sat down and opened up everything.
Yeah, they do a lot of striking in Europe. This is another thing to know. They strike a lot of things, and sometimes you'll just wake up one day and like, oh, they're on strike, there's no transportation. But it never really affected us tremendously. Like Jerry said, you can walk most places. So, and cabs, private cab companies are not affected by things like that. So we'll work around it. And that's the thing. You got to go with the flow. Not everything when you go to study abroad is gonna work out exactly as you plan. That's just the nature of the beast. And it's a lot more fun that way, I think, but you definitely have to be prepared to sort of just go with the flow and adapt when situations like that arise, as they definitely will.
Well, and one of the things also in Yonsei, or for the Yonsei program, one of the things that was really nice on the subway, it's first in Korean and then it's in English. So there's a lot of stuff that's in English. And even if, like, the restaurants, if they don't have names, they have pictures of almost everything. Like, okay, this looks good, and you can and they make it very clear, like, this is seafood or this is pork. I mean, it's not confusing to figure some of that stuff out. I mean, I really tried to learn the Korean, and every time I tried to learn thank you, everybody would correct me. I'm like, okay, I just learned to be like, thank you, and people got what I was doing.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about food? Breakfast is included in the Paris program. The only restriction in the dorm is that there's a monastery right next door. Don't bother the monks.
Yeah.
Last time it was the priests.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, really.
Well, the schools.
Food, there are restaurants, and normally if you get the prefix, it's all included. But if you go off the beaten path, you can get a lot of food for €8. And of course, there's a supermarket down the street. I don't know if they have refrigerators or whatnot, but I would travel with a box of cereal anyway. So.
Yeah. And we'll talk about what else is included in cost in just a second.